Hello, hello, and welcome to the Cosmic Healing Podcast. I just have to giggle because as soon as I pressed record, I looked at my thing and it's 11:11. Are you freaking kidding me right now? Like, what magic is about to happen in this conversation that just confirmed that it's going to be good? Um, okay. I have got Brittany Wittig. Did I say it right? Wittig.
You
Yeah.
got it.
And we met I think you were Kristen in a past life, because where the hell did that thing you were my childhood friend and your name was Kristen.
Oh,
So
I'm sure of it. I'm sure of
yeah,
it.
it's definitely that's where that came from. Okay, so Brittany and I have just recently met through the beautiful Instagram messaging world. And it started because I was talking about the divine feminine and masculine, like that being the twin flame. Like, what if we were our own twin flame? Like, I was on a walk one day and I had this huge revelation and I shared it in a story, and you popped up and you were like, oh, hey, like I have had that same exact download. And then I'm like, well, hey, who are you? Like, and then I started following you and we just, have this beautiful relationship in our DMs. So then recently, and I knew you were going to be on my podcast one day. Like, I knew we were going to meet like this some way, somehow, but I didn't know how exactly. And then recently you were talking about the this offer that you presented, and you I'm going to let you describe it all because it's so much. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's it. Like, I want to be with her in this way. And I want to record it as a podcast. And then I was like, you down? And you're like, I'm down. Let's do it. So, hello, Brittany. How are you? Welcome, welcome.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to be here. And what I love about this whole story is that before I reached out to you, when you had that download, that was the same download I just had. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to connect with her now. But I was already following you because I heard you on another podcast, and I can't remember which one, but I heard you on another podcast maybe a year ago. And when you spoke, I was like, exactly what you said. I was like, I feel like I know her. Like, I feel like I've known her. And I immediately looked you up and followed you and kind of forgot about it for a while. I have listened to your podcast. I love it. But when that download came in, I was like, oh, okay, we're supposed to connect now. Like, I could feel it.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we press record, as soon as like we popped on Zoom and we're face to face, I'm like, our souls are so excited right now because we are together again in this lifetime. Like, those like just deep knowings, and you're just like, yes. Yeah. And like I was saying, I was like, I feel like we're two little kids and we're like, we're together again. We get to play. We get to play in the cosmos. And so I am so excited to bring you and your work and your channeling abilities to me and to my community. And so please just school us on what it is that I know you do many things, but what we're doing today.
Yep. So, what we're going to do today is I am a direct verbal channel for a Pleiadian collective that calls themselves Ozenan, although the name is mostly for our benefit as humans because a name makes things easier for us. And what that means essentially is that I basically put my consciousness in the back seat, so to speak, and allow Ozenan, this collective, to speak through my body. This is something that I've been doing privately for many years, but only in the last year have I begun to bring them through publicly. It took a long time before I felt ready to do that. It requires me to really have enough control of my ego that I can set my ego aside completely so that they can come through clearly, so that I am a clear channel for them. And so the offer that Vaughn was talking about I had posted in my Instagram stories that I was offering a special price for 3 people to receive a one-to-one session with Ozenan, which is essentially a dialogue with them. Again, my consciousness is in the back seat. And Vaughn reached out, and it just felt so aligned to do this.
So aligned. So tell us more about the Pleiadians.
Okay. So it's really interesting because my experience with the Pleiadians has been such a winding road. But essentially, the Pleiadian star system is what we're referring to. So if you go out at night, if you're in the northern hemisphere, I know for sure if you're in the US or Mexico, if you go out at night in the winter, you will very easily see the Pleiadian constellation. It's 7 stars. It's very, I feel like it's really distinct, but that might be because I have a connection to it and I always see it first. So that constellation, that star system, has planets around it and beings that are working with humanity at this time to help us with this shift in consciousness that I'm sure your listeners are very aware of. And it's interesting because I don't want people to get too caught up in the physicality of like, there's a constellation and there's a star system and there's planets, because the Pleiadian collective that I'm going to bring through, they're 5th dimensional. So they are non-physical. There's 44 beings, but they speak as one voice. And so essentially I am connecting with a collective that does not need to work within the confines of time and space because they are 5th dimensional. I don't want to get too much into that because it can get kind of heavy with the mechanics there. But essentially, the Pleiadians are really trying to assist humanity in our expansion, in the expansion of our consciousness. And they're doing so through education. And a lot of people have begun to receive information from the Pleiadians. And so me channeling is just one collective and one way that they can help us to expand.
Yeah, perfectly said. So I know, like, it took me a long time to kind of wrap my head around the whole star seed concept.
Yeah.
So when I first started, I mean, because the Pleiadians, I feel like that's like the most common. I mean, right? Like the most known, like has probably the largest presence here right now, and really working through humanity to evolve. And so, like with you channeling specifically with the Pleiadians, is that your star home? Like, is that your, how does that work?
So it's really interesting. I think something that's happened with as the idea of star seeds has gotten more popular, I think that as humans, we like to put things in boxes, right? Yeah. And so we've started to, well, I'm a Pleiadian or I'm an Arcturian, but actually, what Ozenan has expressed is that we're all connected to all of them. It just depends on which group resonates with your incarnation at this time. So some of us in this incarnation might resonate more with the Pleiadians. For me, definitely, I'm most connected with the Pleiadians. And my understanding is that at least one of the beings in the collective is a future version of me, like a future incarnation of me. And also, I am very connected to some of the other systems as well, like Arcturus. Yeah. And I would make the argument that we're all star seeds. Yes. That some of us are more connected, but.
Yeah, I definitely support that.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I first started like opening up to even light worker, like I'm a light worker. What does that mean? And then to take it a little bit deeper into like a star seed, and it's like, oh, okay. And then, but like reading through everything, it's like check, 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 right? So, but I totally agree with with how you're explaining that, because we're all from the cosmos, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So why
Mhm.
put ourselves in a box? And I've had, readings before where, it's like, oh, this is where you're from, or this is where you're from, and they're all different. So I feel like
Yep.
because there has been so many different places that I'm from, and I don't even remember any of them,
Yeah.
makes me think that I like, it's not like that is my home planet,
Right.
and stars
Right.
cluster. So
Yep.
I love that because it does put people in a box. It's like,
Mhm.
oh, like, because I remember when I first started learning more about star seeds and planets and stuff like that with the Pleiadians, because that was the most common name that I would hear.
Yeah.
I would look through them and there'd be some things that I was like, oh, for sure. And there's other people, and I'm like, no, that's not me at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
Mhm.
it's just fun to play with and explore. And
Yes.
that being the key word, a fun and explore. Like
Yes.
we're all just living and learning over here. Like it doesn't have to be too serious.
Yes, absolutely. Have fun with it, play with it. And I do find, I mean, one thing about Pleiadian energy is that it is highly accessible. And I think that's why we hear about them the most often. And what I mean by as accessible is it's a very gentle energy. It's a high frequency, loving energy. So it feels very easy to connect with. And I think that the messages that come through are quite accessible.
Yeah. So what has been the process for you to, I mean, because I'm channeling, like when I'm in sessions and when I mean, like I'm
Yes.
channeling so much, but I don't get that specific information of like, this is who you're channeling, unless it's like a really strong feeling. Like,
Yeah.
but usually I feel like I'm like kind of all over the place, like very, very multidimensional of like, but there's so many
Mhm.
times I want to know more, but I'm just not given more. And so then once I just kind of like, whatever, it doesn't even matter. Like all I know is it's holy and it's healing and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
So I would love to hear more about your experience of like connecting to this group.
Yeah.
And because you even said specifically, like it's a collective group of 40, right? 40,
44. Yep.
44. Yeah. So like, how did that happen?
It's so interesting. So I can completely relate because I also do other channeling where I often don't know specifically where the information's coming from. This type of channeling has been an evolution for me. It really started in late 2019. I actually had a couple big experiences that connected me with the Pleiadians. The first one was, well, there were three. The first time that I started to get a hint that this was my path was the first time I ever heard Esther Hicks channel Abraham. And that was even further back actually, but I feel like it's important to mention it because as soon as she opened her mouth and started channeling Abraham, I burst into tears,
Oh,
like
wow.
spontaneously.
Oh,
And I was like, what is happening?
wow.
And I've always felt drawn to people who are doing this sort of direct verbal channeling over the years. And that was a long time ago. Then a couple of years later, around 2019, I had an experience where I was ecstatic dancing alone in my home. And I spontaneously began channeling Ozenan. I, at the time, didn't have a name for them, but essentially I sat down cross-legged on the ground. My head went back, I opened my mouth, and suddenly a voice started coming through that wasn't mine.
Oh,
And that is not generally how it works for me now. I have more control now, but I feel like they were just like coming through, like, hey, we're here, like letting me know.
yeah.
And then the third big experience I had was in that same year, or it was early 2020. It was just after the pandemic started, actually. I saw a UFO outside of my house, but I didn't just see it. I was actually like called outside to view it. I heard tones in my ears and I heard a voice say, walk outside. And it was pretty late at night. So normally I wouldn't go out. And I walked outside and I looked up and there was a UFO, and it was like reality got really liquidy. And so that was another profound experience that I have later learned was connected to this direct channeling that I was meant to do. And it was after the UFO encounter that I began doing this channeling privately for myself. So I would ask a question and then record a voice note for myself. And I used it for my own life first, and they've been my primary guides for a long time now. And then it was literally New Year's Eve, 2024. They came through loud and clear. They were like, it's time. It's time now for us to start coming through for your clients, for the public. And New Year's Day, 2024, I made my first video. So here we are.
Oh my gosh, that is incredible. I just have so much respect for you, because I know, like, when you're receiving that next level of information and activations and things are happening to your body, and you're in that, you've allowed yourself to be at that level of surrender, like that's hard. It's like the easiest, hardest thing that we can ever do is to surrender and let go in that way. And I really believe that we all are channels. Like you are the channel, like you are the channel. It's just a matter of clearing out that congestion within and creating the channel for information to move through you. And then and of course, cultivating self-trust, of like, okay, so I feel this and I see this in my body. And that takes a lot of time, I feel, to to really cultivate that level of safety in your body to receive that. Because if you didn't feel safe, you wouldn't receive it. like I always say, you're only going to really receive anything that you are ready for. I mean, it just won't come to you if you're not ready for it, if you are not open for it, if you are not available to it, because then you would question it, and so maybe it is coming to you, but then you'd question and say, oh, but that's not true, or I'm definitely losing my mind, right. So I just think that this is such a beautiful journey, and a testimony truly to continuing to show up for yourself, like you just said, you were doing ecstatic dance by yourself, like that's something that your body wanted and needed in that moment, and you gave it to it. You gave that to yourself, and because you were allowed yourself to be in ecstatic dance by yourself, and you were open and you were in flow, that's when that information is able to come to you. So it's not going to be, when you're like sitting at your desk doing your job, like it's coming to you when you're in a place of oneness with yourself, when you're connecting to yourself, and you're like, I feel myself, I love myself, I feel safe in myself to move and express in this way. And so that's when all that information is able to come, and you're just able to connect. And I'm just sharing like this process because it is a process, like I know there's so many women that I talk to that are like, I want to channel, or I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, but I know there's more, but the only way you're going to be able to get in touch with that is if you show up for yourself.
Yep. 100%. Yes, absolutely. And the other piece of this, 100% to everything you just said, making that space where you are in oneness with yourself is key. Absolutely key. And also I feel like, the other kind of piece there is that oh shoot, I lost it. Sorry. We'll go on.
Yeah. You're in good company.
But yes, 100% showing up for yourself, being in oneness with yourself is absolutely key. Oh, I remember the other key piece here is patience. So this was when I first had that experience of spontaneous channeling, was like right 2019. So here we are, 2024. I mean, if I had tried to rush and like jump into this too soon, it would have like been so hard on my nervous system. I wouldn't actually have been a clear enough channel. it was really necessary, even though I really did always know that I would get here. I had to have so much patience with the journey and let my soul guide me.
Yeah, that right there, that is it exactly. Patience, because people are always like, what's your journey? What's your story? And I'm like, well, I mean, it's, or like, how can you hold so much energy for so many people? And I was like, well, I've been working to be able to handle this capacity, like this time
Yes.
last year, I couldn't be doing what I'm doing now because my nervous
Right.
system and my body and my energetics were not able to hold that. So I wouldn't have even received it because I literally couldn't have held it. So
Yes.
like you only will receive what you're able to hold.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely. And even now, like I'm very much still expanding my capacity with this work for like how long can I channel? How many people can I channel for, you
Right.
know?
Yeah, yeah. And it's only going to expand beyond that because we are constantly expanding and evolving the more that we show up for ourselves and we just keep getting higher and evolving and so that's just the
Yeah.
natural progression of it all. Um
Yes.
okay, so tell us about this the experience of what do we need to do? What do I need to do? And what is about to happen?
Okay. So the way that this is going to work is essentially I will just take a few moments, allow them in. What I'm doing is I'm setting my consciousness, almost it feels like I'm in a tunnel behind myself. I am not a trance channel. So what that means is I'm conscious. I am like viewing what's happening, but almost like I'm in a tunnel behind myself. But I do have full control. I can stop at any time. Um, and for you, the experience will be there will, of course, be the conscious words that are coming through that your conscious mind will be hearing and processing. And there is an energetic transmission that is happening simultaneously. This is what they've explained to me. So, for those who are listening right now, if you are able and feel called to, you may want to sit somewhere with your eyes closed or lay down with your eyes closed while you listen. It's not necessary. If you're in the car, that's okay. But there is an energetic transmission that will come through as well. So that's one way that you can work with it. And if you do listen today and want to go back and listen again, laying down with your eyes closed, you will likely have a different experience. So that's something you can also listen to these transmissions multiple times to receive different things. The other important piece that I want to be sure I mention is that your experience, each one of you listening, your experience of this channeled transmission will be unique to you. And what I mean by that is when you're listening, as you're experiencing this, pay attention to what is happening around you. Pay attention to what's popping into your head. Pay attention to what you feel in your body, because that is what makes this channeling unique to your system. Ozenan will take into account the energies of every single human being that will ever receive this transmission. So if you are receiving it, there will be something for you here. So pay attention to your own inner experience and even outer, your external world. Pay attention if any signs come through, things pop into your head while you're listening.
Beautiful. So like in the beginning, will it be more specific to me, like information for me specifically, or for like, how does that work?
Well, we actually can request that. Would you prefer I mean, we could do a mix,
Yeah.
but we can kind of request what you would prefer to experience here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I feel like it would be interesting just because I share so much of my personal life on here that it
Mm-hmm.
could be appreciated to receive some guidance from them in
Okay.
regards to, yeah, it's so like I would love like maybe some personal things and then like
Okay.
for our listeners.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfect. So what we'll do I'll bring them through and I'll let them bring through an initial transmission for you. And then they just take over. So they'll bring something through and then they'll ask you if you have questions or if you want more clarification or we'll just let them take over.
Perfect. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Takes all the pressure off of, I mean, anytime I'm like, when I sit down with any client, I'm like, okay, so let's just surrender and see what happens.
That's exactly what we're doing. That's exactly what I'm doing. So
yeah, that's perfect.
Okay. So do you feel ready?
I am so ready.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me bring them in. Yes, we are here and we are pleased to speak with you today, Vaughn. We are grateful that you are open to this type of communication. We have known that this communication will occur, and we are happy to provide this information for you and for all of the souls who will encounter this transmission today and over time. First, we would like to speak to you directly, Vaughn, about your role at this time on your planet. You have begun to feel into some of your next steps very strongly recently, as you and this channel discussed before you began recording this call. We would like to point out to you that you are on the right track with your new understanding that you are a form of grid worker. We would like to point out to you that part of the reason that you have felt so drawn to the retreats that you host is because you are holding these retreats, these healing experiences in various locations. And while these locations may not be far away from where you do most of your work, they are specific locations that are beneficial to healing the earth consciousness and the collective human consciousness and healing the relationship between the consciousness of the earth and the collective consciousness of humanity. So we first would like to point that out. We would also like to encourage you to fully surrender to the other locations that may drop into your consciousness in the coming months and years for other retreats, for other experiences. We would also like to encourage you to consider the possibility of one-to-one work sessions in various locations. This is simply a seed that we would like to plant for you, because these one-to-one sessions with the souls that are connected to you and guided to you will be very powerful for you, for the individual soul, and for the healing of humanity's connection to the earth consciousness. You have come very far in your understanding of consciousness, in your connection to the earth and the cosmos. And we would like to recognize you for that and also reflect that to you, because we know, as all humans, sometimes you cannot see the bigger picture of the ripples that your work and your presence and your soul are making in this reality at this time. You are doing very important work. And we would also like to point out that your frequency of play and joy and love is truly the essence of play and joy. That frequency is also very unique and very needed at this time. And you are rippling that frequency out, both in your physical location and also through the airwaves, we could say, as in this podcast, and also through technology, allowing you to connect with souls all over the world. Many souls that you have no idea are being deeply moved by your frequency. So we would like to point that out and assure you that your presence is highly important at this time. Would you like further clarification on any of this?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that confirmation and those ideas, and for planting the seeds. I can see that already beginning to grow. So thank you, thank you. I do have questions around Earth. I really have been feeling such a deep resonance and vibration of Earth's energy, and I would love to learn more about her evolution and what we can do more to support this. I just feel like some days we're just not doing enough, and I want to be in support of supporting this evolution, because I feel the vibration moving through my body some days so strongly, and I wonder if I'm doing enough or what else I can be doing.
This is an excellent question. First, we would like to say that the Earth is currently in a process of taking back her sovereignty. You can think of humans on the Earth as you would think of cells in your own body. The Earth consciousness has allowed these cells on her body to get quite out of balance. And we do not mean this in any kind of judgmental way, of course. We are simply pointing out what has occurred and what is now shifting. As the Earth's cells, or the humans, have reached a peak state of imbalance, we could say, the Earth is now choosing to come back into balance, to become, you could say, healthier, but we prefer the idea or the words of in greater balance. And as the Earth brings herself into greater balance, you as humanity are feeling this shift, because no longer, and of course, this shift will happen over time, we want to be clear, but no longer will humanity be able to remain in the frequency where they are causing great destruction to the home planet of Earth. And so at this time, many humans who are very sensitive to energy, who are connected to the consciousness of Earth more directly and consciously, are beginning to receive communication from her. This communication is coming in many forms. For some, it will come in a deep sadness that you may not understand and you may not be able to identify in your own current existence. This sadness sometimes will move up and into your system, and you will release it out. This is the sadness of the Earth as she moves through her own shadow work. We are all fractals, and the Earth is a fractal of the greater universe, and humans are a fractal of the Earth. Some humans will receive more conscious information from the Earth consciousness, actual messages, channeled messages from the Earth. And to move into your question of whether you are doing enough, we would encourage you to come at this question from an energetic standpoint. It is very healthy for you to come at this question from the energy of love, of I want to do more, I wish to do more. And this can be very expansive. And yes, you can do more from this energy, and it will be very beneficial. However, we would encourage you not to come at this question from an energy of fear. If you come at this question from an energy of, I am afraid that I am not doing enough, then the actions that you take will be imbued with that fear energy and will not be as beneficial as the actions you would take from a love energy. Does this make sense?
Perfect sense. Yes, 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 yes. Thank you.
Good.
I'm so fascinated with the fact that we are a soul that lived a life in this human body walking this land. And then our physical body dies and our soul lives on, and then we choose another lifetime, in the human existence, in the human body. And this process, this continues to happen, and the way that our body holds on to the past memories and experiences and traumas of the past lifetime as a human being. So can you explain a little bit more the way that the actual physical body is transferred from lifetime to lifetime with the one soul, like the way that the body holds on to the information of the soul?
Yes, this is an excellent question. And what we would encourage you to consider is that your 3D material world is not as 3D and material as it appears to be. You live in a holographic universe, and the 3D sensation that you experience in your world is actually the sensation of electrons forcing themselves against other particles. So when you, for instance, feel the solid seat below you, it is actually simply electricity pushing against each other. And this is what creates that feeling of hardness, of 3D reality. The reason that we wish to bring this up or share this is because this can give you a deeper understanding of how your energy, your soul, can move from one lifetime into the next. Because the 3D is not quite as 3D as you think. It is, we do not like the word simulation because we feel that this invokes a great bit of fear. However, it is quite holographic. And when the human body quits functioning, when it is time to pass to the all that is, we shall say, the soul essentially expands into the all that is. Now, there is a transition period between the actual ceasing of the body and the passing into the other side, as humans would call it, but really it is simply what is always surrounding you. This passing is different for different people. And this is something we have spoken about briefly in the past, but we will share a little more about it here. This passing initially will very much mimic what your human psyche believes to be true in this lifetime. So for many people, this is an experience of light. It is an experience of beauty. For other people, the initial passing can be a bit scary, and we do not share this to invoke fear. We simply wish for people to understand that their belief about the end of life is actually quite important. And once the transition to the other side or to the all that is occurs, this is when the soul reunites with, we could say, the oversoul, the energy that is moving through lifetimes. And what we would like to point out is that this oversoul and this energy that is moving through the incarnations, this oversoul is with you all the time. So you are never disconnected from that. And you are simply becoming aware of it again when you pass into the all that is. And then this oversoul, when it is time to focus attention, this is a great way of putting it, when it is time to focus attention into another incarnation, the oversoul will focus a part of itself into the incarnation of a new human or a new being on another planet in another star system, we would like to point out. It is not necessarily another human incarnation that will happen next. So the oversoul will then focus attention down in to this incarnation. However, there is never a separation from the oversoul. Does this make sense? And would you like further clarification?
Yes, I would, if you can explain the oversoul a little bit better.
Yes. The oversoul, the best way to explain this is to think in terms of fractals. There is the source consciousness, the all that is. And a fractal of the source consciousness would be the consciousness that is actually in creation. You could think of these as the archangel level of consciousness. And then a fractal of these would be oversouls. And the human incarnation is a fractal of the oversoul. Now, what a fractal is essentially all of the information of the whole focused into a smaller unit, we could say. And so you at all times are part of the source, part of the archangel creation, part of the oversoul. And by the oversoul focusing a piece of itself into a human incarnation, it allows it to experience reality in a great variety of ways. There are many, many oversouls, and humans often will sense when they have connected with another fractal of their oversoul when they meet someone who feels like what you call a soulmate or a soul tribe. Would you like further clarification?
That is beautiful, beautifully explained. With that being said, I would love if it's available to understand the past relationship that Brittany and I have had.
This is a wonderful question, and we would love to share this. This is interesting because it connects with the conversation that the two of you had earlier before Brittany began channeling. And you were speaking about star seeds and different star systems. We would like to bring your attention to the star system of Arcturus. You and Brittany both have existed in many lifetimes in the star system of Arcturus. And in this system, you have worked together on we shall call it the birth and death portal. Arcturus is very involved in the incarnation portal for humanity. This there is a birth portal and a death portal. And you and Brittany have both been involved in tending the birth portal and the death portal in previous lifetimes together. This, you may feel some familiarity to this when you think about how you have been drawn to the birth portal and the death portal in this life. You have found it fascinating. You have found that you have abilities that help you or allow you to assist with the birth portal and the death portal. And this may not always present itself through physical birth and physical death. You also both have a proclivity for assisting humans in little births and little deaths throughout their existence. This is because both of you are connected to that Arcturian birth and death portal tending. Would you like further information?
Oh, that is so beautiful. Okay, well, going to the birth and death portal. So is that in reference to here on Earth, like that birth and death portal of the human existence, or more of like well, I mean, I guess it's also the soul existence, but is it more of like well, I guess you did say that because it was like the rebirthing on a smaller scale, like through as the soul goes through different deaths and rebirths. So that's what you're saying when you say the birth and death portal.
We are referring to both. You are connected to the actual physical birth into incarnation, which you think of as the birth of babies, and the actual physical death of humans and their passing. There is one layer of this that is the actual physical birth of humans and death of humans, and you are connected to that. Arcturus is very much involved in that process, and also the smaller births and deaths. So there are many layers to this, because the little births and deaths that happen throughout an incarnation on a less physical level are also fractals of the physical birth and death portal that are the ultimate birth and death for your incarnation. Does this make sense?
Yes, yes, that makes perfectly no sense at all, but it makes all the sense.
Yes.
What is the main purpose of this life that we are living right here, right now, in this time and space?
We appreciate this question very much. The purpose of life is life. It is simply experience. It is to live. It is, we could say, to sink into love. And of course, what we mean by love is not simply romantic love, but love as the foundation of all that is. Your experience here in this incarnation can be whatever you wish it to be. And it will be very, very different for all of you. There are close to 8 billion of you currently living on this planet. And so there are close to 8 billion different realities all happening at the same time. It is marvelous. And your purpose, although purpose is not necessarily the word that we would use, your main educational experience, we shall say. Your main educational experience is to simply exist, to live, and to expand. This is key. It is to expand. And at this time, human consciousness is beginning to expand to the point where you are actually going to be more and more conscious of your ability to direct your reality. And this is part of everyone's mission, purpose, educational experience at this time in this incarnation. Anyone who is incarnated now on the planet Earth is ready, and it is possible for them to learn to begin directing their reality with their consciousness. For your reality is truly a reflection of your inner world. Does this make sense?
Yes. So you speak of love, and I totally feel that truth in my body as the more my heart opens up and I accept in more love, and I just feel that truly is love, is the very thing that will help to heal and evolve this world. What is the let's see, I'm trying to think of it from a positive perspective, like you said before, like when we are on this quest of accepting and being more love, what is the main thing that tends to block us from accepting and stepping into more of that abundance of love that is so available to us? Like, what is the thing we need to really release and be excited about letting go of so that we can step more into love?
This is an excellent question. What we would point you to is fear. And what we wish to explain is that fear is very important. It is very powerful. It is a very necessary part of the human existence. If there was no fear, many of you would not survive. Fear gives you very, very important information. And the way that you work with fear within yourself is essential. This goes back to the energy from which you take action. It is natural, normal, and necessary to feel afraid of a variety of things in your reality. And we would encourage you not to take actions from your fear, with one exception. The action of feeling your fear is highly healthy. The action of sitting with your fear and with the emotions that come with that fear is powerful and beneficial. And learning to give yourself periods of time throughout your day or week to sit with and feel and release fear in a safe way is very, very healthy. This may look like moving your body, for instance, going for a run. It may look like crying. It may look like screaming. These are all forms of release that then allow you to take other action in your life from a place of love, from an energy of love, rather than an energy of fear. If you look out at your world at this moment, you can see the humans who are leaning into actions that are taken from the energy of love, and you can see the humans who are taking action from the energy of fear. It is very clear when you begin to view your world in this way and bring this back down into your personal life. Every action that you take from the energy of fear is bringing more of that energy and frequency into your individual existence and the collective. Now, we do not expect anyone to be perfect, and we do not mean to imply that you should be. Do not use this information to shame yourself in any way. You are humans. It is natural. You will feel fear, and sometimes you will act from fear. And occasionally that will be very appropriate. For instance, if a bear is chasing you, please run. We ask that you do. And sometimes the fear that is motivating your action simply needs to be felt and not acted on. This is a discernment that many of you, in fact, we would say everyone listening to this particular transmission, is beginning to understand and take control of in their personal existence. Does this make sense?
Perfect sense. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I do have one other question about, in regards to the ego and the soul. So, what is that relationship? I don't mean to say the word supposed to look like, but what ideally is that relationship? What are those relationship goals between the ego and the soul?
We love this question. This is an excellent question. Your ego is very much your partner. We would like to emphasize this, as we know that many humans have demonized the ego. And the truth is, when the ego is demonized, the ego is avoided and the ego takes over. So demonizing the ego does not do anyone any good. The ego is absolutely a partner. And something that we would like to share about your egos is that your egos were constructed very carefully in the beginning when humans were first coming to be on your planet. The ego was the anchor that would hold you to the planet so that your soul didn't just say, whoop, and pop right out. And we think this is funny to imagine souls popping out left and right. But the ego was very important in this way, and it is still an important tie to your home planet and to your 3D reality. Now, with that said, the ego in your modern world has taken the driver's seat for many people, shall we say. And it is important that the ego is not in the driver's seat, because the ego tends to make all of its choices based on past events. And so there is very little expansion possible when the ego is making your decisions and running your life, because everything that the ego decides is based on past data. The ego does not have access to the big picture like your soul does. Your soul can take, we should say, a bird's eye view of your life, and it can see the things that your ego is not capable of seeing. The other piece here is that your ego is rooted in survival. The ego is here to keep you eating, to keep you breathing, to keep you drinking water, to keep you doing the things that allow you to survive in your 3D reality, which is very important. And survival is very wrapped up in fear in your body. So it is very, very important that there is a balance between your ego and your soul, that you are in the driver's seat, the you, which is the you that is connected to the all that is, the you that is the observer is another way of putting it. It is important that you are in the driver's seat and that your ego is perhaps a passenger in the car with you in this metaphor. And we would encourage you to get deeply acquainted with your ego, to befriend it, to respect it, and to honor the immense amount of work that your ego does for you all day, every day, to keep you grounded into this human experience, which is why you came. You came to experience this. Does this make sense?
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Oh, that was so perfectly explained. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Oh, good.
I I am so grateful for your time with us today. And before we start, are there any messages for the listeners of the Cosmic Healing Podcast that I know we're all so deep in some work, and I just really feel like we are ready to embrace more levity, and so I would just love any words of wisdom, any advice, any knowledge that you can share with us in this moment. It would be so
Yes.
appreciated.
Yes. You are in a great transition at this time. And we would like to point out that at the time of this recording in your year of 2024, you are in a massive shift. This is the more intense acceleration of the expansion of consciousness now. It has been happening for many years, but it is accelerating quickly. And we know that many of you are feeling this. All of you listening to this transmission have felt this. And what we would like to encourage you to do is to continue riding the waves of this and to know that each wave makes things a little lighter and a little easier. We would like for everyone listening to this transmission to understand that while the collective, that while humanity still has many challenges ahead in the coming decade, those of you who are listening today are leaders. You are on the leading edge of this shift in consciousness. And what that means is that for you, on a personal level, this shift is going to be ultimately very beautiful, very expansive, very soul opening is a word that we would like to use. And so we would encourage you that when you begin to feel afraid in these shifts and in these transitions, and when you feel sadness, which we would like to point out often is not your own, it is often sadness coming from past generations, your lineage, and even from the earth herself, as we spoke of earlier. When you feel these deep, challenging emotions, allow yourself to feel them so that they are released and you can continue allowing your expansion. For those of you listening, you are moving into a very beautiful period of time, and we would like to assure you of this. We would encourage you also not to allow yourself to become lost in despair or fear when observing the collective experience of humanity. Be sure that you zoom into your own personal experience. We do not mean that you should put your head in the sand and ignore the world at all. In fact, your activism from a place of love, from an energy of love, can be very powerful. And it is important that you come back to yourself, come back to your heart space, come back to your home within yourself, look around your personal reality and notice how expansive and beautiful it becomes over the next 5 to 10 years. Come back home to yourself when the world feels overwhelming. Do you have any further questions?
I feel so complete. Thank you so, so much for your time and wisdom today. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
With love, we thank you. Hi.
Wow.
This takes a minute here. It's kind of like it's
Wow.
kind of like
Yeah.
oh man. And I get hot. Like my whole body is
So
so hot
hot.
right now. So the other thing is that I didn't share before, I lose all of it very quickly. So I already don't know almost anything that was said. It goes in and out. I'll remember like highlights, and if you speak about it, I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
But it's like I'm not making memory when I do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way when I'm channeling. Like so many clients that I work with, they're like, "Do you remember that?" I'm like, "No, what happened? Tell me."
Yes,
Because I'm
exactly.
just so in it, like I'm just like
Yeah.
a vessel. Yeah, so that's so beautiful that we have that capacity to literally just like, whoa,
Yes.
whoa, that was amazing.
Cool. Oh, I'm so glad.
Yeah, 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 it was great. You do, yeah, you're a great little channel there. Thank you. Oh my gosh, like I could just have talked for hours and hours. And I mean, that is just pure divine wisdom. Just, I mean, it's truth. It is just straight up truth.
Yeah.
And it's
Isn't it
all
wild?
coming from such a place of love. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, it's so pure and it's so
Yeah.
lovely. Wow.
Yes. And that's what it feels like in my body. It feels like what it feels like right now is that I just had like the biggest like hit of energy ever. Like my body feels like cleansed almost. So for me, it's a very, even though I get hot and there is a physicality to it for sure. Overall, it's very energizing
Yeah.
for me.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And I can relate to that too, because I feel like, and so many of us that are healers and we do this work, when we're in our element, like when we're in our zone of genius and we're doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing, how could it not make us feel amazing? Because we're
Yeah.
doing exactly what we're supposed to be doing. And
Yes.
on the opposite of that, when we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, that dis-ease that settles in that makes us feel like we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, you know? So that's just like the beautiful testimony to our body and the aliveness that we get to feel versus the angst and the fear and the unknown that our body is deciding to sit in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly, you hit the nail on the head. Like when you're feeling like your body's in discomfort and you have that tension, I feel like that's always such a great little, like a flag or like a notification, like, hey, something's out of alignment here. Pay attention to what you're doing, how you're spending your time, or even, I mean, it can be as simple as like, where is your attention focused right now? Maybe shift it from, looking at a computer to looking out the window at the trees, or, it can be simple.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah.
those little things, that those little intuitive nudges that it's like
Mhm.
something isn't right. Like I'm not doing something. There's so many times that I feel like I feel like I'm supposed to be doing something, you know? And so like
Yeah.
something other than what I'm doing right now. And
Yeah.
it's, that's where I get to like observe that feeling that I have within my body and then just ask, well, what do I need? And that's usually when I'll just go outside and get some fresh air and, just kind of be out there and gather my answers from there. And not that like it's going to come to me in like some light bulb moment, but
Right.
I did need to stop doing whatever I was doing and do something else. And then with that change, because that's just your intuitive body saying, hello, let's come over here and do this instead. Or, and then that ultimately will guide you to what you do need.
Yes, yes. And absolutely what you're meant to be doing is going to feel so good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Oh, wow, that was so beautiful. I'm so excited to share this episode with everyone and to just
Mm,
for them to be able to experience you. And like in the very beginning for me, that personal, oh man, that was so good for me. And I just feel like
mm,
that is the kind of information that people want to hear,
yeah.
from outside of themselves, that is just like, we see you, you're doing this, and
Yes.
you could also maybe do this, like they
Yeah.
straight up were like, I'm planting the seed here, that you need to go travel with your one-on-one offers.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. I kind of remember that now. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. As you say it.
yeah, yeah. And they
Cool.
were like saying how my retreats, even though I don't choose them far away right now, that I'm doing them where I'm supposed to be to really help that that area, that grid, that that space,
Yeah.
so I was like, okay, so I love it that I gotta, I just that's it basically. I feel like they kind of like said, hey, we see you, Vaughn, like you're doing amazing work, good job. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm like, okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, what is great about speaking with them, I mean, has been for me personally is they can jump from like really personal information to like really big picture, like whoa kind of stuff. And I mean, they can just talk about anything. It's
Oh
so
yeah, I mean,
cool.
I mean, literally, like I literally could have talked. There were so many other things. I was like, oh, I want to ask about that. I want to ask about
Yeah,
that. So
yeah,
this is so amazing. I'm so excited for people to have the opportunity to, have witnessed you in action and what is available and possible for them. So what is the best way for, well, obviously Instagram, because that's how we connected. So
yeah,
we got the good old fashioned Instagram. And what are some other ways that people can connect with you best? Because you have a
yeah.
really successful podcast as well.
Yes, yeah. So I am the host of Coming Out of the Spiritual Closet, which is my podcast that I've been doing for a few years now. The best way to connect, so check that out. You'll enjoy it for sure. The best way to connect with me is, yeah, either my website, which is just my name, brittnywittig.com, or through Instagram. And I offer these one-to-one sessions with Ozenan. If you would like to connect with them directly, I would be happy to do that with you. I also have a program that I will be reopening in early June called The Portal that is a co-creation with Ozenan. And this is a one-to-one group hybrid program. If you would like to work with Ozenan in that capacity, it's a 3-month container. And the last round was just like, wow, what
Wow.
Ozenan brought through for everyone was amazing. So there's
Wow.
some
All right. So,
options.
so when you say a one-to-one group program, like
Hybrid.
hybrid,
So
okay.
yes, so you get a couple one-to-one sessions with me,
Uh-huh.
and those can be with Ozanon. And then also we do some group sessions. And Ozanon, I also have a weekly video that I've co-created with Ozanon that has a channeled message and a task for you for that week, and it's for 12 weeks.
Oh, cool. Well, that
Yeah.
sounds amazing. Um, oh, I was gonna ask you something too. I lost it. Anyway, okay, that sounds like an incredible opportunity, and your rates are so affordable, for the information and what you are delivering. So I will make sure I will have all
Thank you.
your things. Oh, I was gonna say you also have a YouTube channel. So you've just is that fairly new where you're putting out
Yes.
okay, I know that's vulnerable, right? Like that, like you're like, okay, I'm doing what I'm told, but I'm doing it scared, and here we go. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And it's so funny because the YouTube channel is so new that I forget about it. But yes, I do about once a week. I do a channel transmission from Ozenan on my YouTube channel as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, you just had one yesterday because it was Earth Day, and so you posted that in your stories. I was like, I'll go watch that, and it was so good. I mean,
Thank you.
it's so easy, like you and Ozanon are just so comfortable to be with, like I felt like I could be myself and like use my humor and just kind of be like, so it was just super comfortable to be able to communicate in that way. So that's
Mm,
so awesome. I'm so
thank you.
grateful to you. And I asked about, I don't know if you remember, but I asked about our relationship and
Oh, yes, that's
yeah,
right. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, that was so interesting.
I know. I was
That,
like, haha,
yes.
well, I've got you here.
And that totally resonates with me too. I was like, oh, like it's so interesting in that moment. I was like, oh yes. I felt that. Like even in my little tunnel behind my consciousness, I
Right.
was like,
Yeah.
yes.
The birth and death tunnel.
Hmm. Yeah,
Because
so
that's what
cool.
we do, right? Like we're just for ourselves and for others, we are just facilitating deaths and rebirths and deaths and rebirths, and it never, ever, ever ends.
Yep, that's right. It's so true. Yes. So
Yeah,
cool.
that's awesome. All right. Well, I am, and now it's 12:22. I mean, could we, hello, divine numbers. This was so
Oh
beautiful.
my gosh, that's so cool.
That's amazing. Okay, well, thank you everyone for listening, and I will make sure I have all the goods in the show notes. And please go message our girl over here and tell her how much you loved this episode, and just go work with her and let's have some fun together. All right,
Oh,
so thanks everybody.
thank you so much, Vaughn.
Okay, bye.